Hey, how you doing? Dan Pro here. You can find me at youtube.com, Steppers Express. Hit that subscribe and that like button. Today, what we're going over is how to create macros in ATEM Mini Pro software for you to shift between cameras. Now, you've seen me do this in other programs, but I'm going to show you how it's done with your ATEM Mini Pro without you have to use any hands-on to switch between cameras. So, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is come over to your ATEM Mini Pro software. You already downloaded it from Blackmagic, so if you haven't done that already, I hope you have done that, or go do it so you can keep up with this particular tutorial. Now, once you're in your ATEM Software Control panel, you will see this platform right here. Now, what I want you to do is go up to the top, and you'll see something called Macros. Right here next to Files, click on Macros, and you'll see this particular box come up and it says macros. Now, we're going to create a macro. So let's click create a macro, and you see this plus sign right here. So we're going to click this plus sign and we're going to give it a name. And we're going to call it camera shift. And then we're going to hit record. Now, you notice when I hit record, you saw a red box come up around the screen, and you also see a tablet at the top right here that lights up when you swipe over it that says add pause. I'm going to come over to camera 1. Now, I'm only doing this with 2 cameras, but in the ATEM Mini Pro, you can do it with 4 cameras or 4 inputs, and you can shift between those inputs using a macro. So I have it on camera 1, and now I'm going to hit add pause. And down here in add pause, you see where I can time it for 6 seconds or the durations that I want to be. So I want mine to be 15 seconds intervals. Well, we're going to make it shorter so we can get through this tutorial and you can see it in action. So I'm going to make mine 7-second intervals, and make sure you hit add pause. Now I'm going to go to my second camera, and I'm going to hit add pause at the top right here again. And we're going to keep the same 7 seconds, or I can make this shorter, or I can make it longer. Let's make it shorter just for the tutorial purpose. And now hit add pause. Now, you see my cameras are being recorded. Now, if I had other inputs in here, I would do the same thing until I reach the last one. And then I would hit this red button because it's already recording, because that's why the red box is around it. Now, I'm going to stop the recording of my cameras. Now, once I hit stop, you see that it stopped. So now I want to run my macro. So in order to run my macro, right here next to where it says create, I want you to hit run. Now, if I want this to loop, first of all, I'm going to hit this button right here in order to recall and run a macro. Because I have more macros in this list than just this one, I'm going to hit run and recall macro. So in order for it to loop, I would hit this button right here. And now, whatever macro is in this list that I hit is going to run and loop. So let's run this macro. So let's hit camera shift, and now you will see that macro is going to start running, and you're going to see our cameras start to shift between each other based on the timing that we gave those particular cameras. So you see my cameras are shifting based on those intervals. Now, I don't have to just do those 2 pauses, or the 7 seconds and the 5 seconds. I could have had a list of how long I want that shot to rotate or shift between those 2 cameras. So I may say I want it to rotate 5 seconds, and then I want it to rotate 2 seconds, and then 10 seconds, and then 15 seconds, just to keep things changed. It depends on how many shots you have, how many inputs you have, how many cameras you have. In that same macro, I can include some inputs like graphics from a computer, or I can have a presentation or a slideshow in there that can also switch between those particular slides in conjunction with those cameras. So whatever I have on those 4 inputs, that is what will shift in that macro, and I can use that using add pause and record. So that's pretty much it as far as how to program your macros in ATEM Mini Pro. Now, the cool thing about this is that once I finish, I'm going to stop this recording. So let's stop that recording. Let's stop this loop. And if I wanted to delete this particular program, I could, that macro, and then I can add some, delete some, however I want to use it. But before I do, if I want to save them, I could come up here and you see where it says save as. I could save this macro as an HTML file, and I can use it in other programs as far as cross-platform to other ATEM products or other ATEM switches in that family. So right now we're just going to close this out. I'm going to keep this camera shift because I can come back later and modify this and use it in my actual rotation of my programs. And I'm going to close that out, and then I can close out my software. I can continue to use it. Now I use my ATEM Mini Pro sometimes as a webcam and sometimes as a live streaming object. I use it in many different ways. Sometimes I bring it into other programs and we use it in conjunction with virtual cameras. But however I want to use it, if I really want to get into shifting without using my hands, then I would use macros. And there's other ways to use macros for other purposes. I just wanted to show you how to set it up, and the best way to show you that was to use the camera shift. Hey, that's it. I'm Dan Land Pro. Remember, ATEM macros in ATEM Mini Pro. Until next time, don't forget, Steppers Express, youtube.com. Make sure you subscribe. Peace.